Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to this session we're having today with our guests from the textile sector as well as from the Board of Investment from KP. I just want to make sure, first of all, that everybody can hear me okay. If there's any way that you can write in the chat box, if you can't hear me, if you can't see me, please, let me know in the chat box, and we'll try to sort out any problems. Without wasting much time, let me first of all introduce you to my guest today. We have with us Mr. Muhammad Iqbal Gori, who's looking after, he's a strategy director at Sadakat Limited, which is a textile and garments manufacturer. And they have a $200 million operation in Pakistan and across the USA and Hong Kong and the UK. So they're if you like, a global textile company with operations and sales across borders. I've known Iqbal for some time. He's a fellow member of the Cost and Management Accountants, and he's played a tremendous role in the regulation of national bodies. He plays an effective role with IFAC, CAPA, and SAFA, and we're very happy to have Imran with us today, Iqbal with us today. My other guest is Imran Moteen. He's a fellow member of the Chartered Certified Accountants. Imran is a CFO at Gadoon Textiles, again, a very large textile spinning company operating on a diversified conglomerate of the Yunus Brothers Group, which is a very well-known industrial group here in Pakistan. And Imran also is a member of ICAW. He's a certified internal auditor of the Institute of Internal Auditors and a fellow member of PIPFA as well. Imran, welcome to you also. We also have with us as well Mr. Hassan Daud Butt, who is the Chief Executive of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Board of Investment. I've known Hassan for some time as well. He's a very close contact of ours. And Hassan's been doing tremendous work around providing an enabling environment for industries to set up, especially in the KP and especially in the special economic zones, which are going to be coming up all over the country as part of the CPEC project. And he's been a great sort of advocate and enabler of the Belt and Road Initiative across Pakistan, and obviously for the future of the country as well. He's going to play a tremendous role there. So I think we've got a good sort of diverse panel that can sort of help us narrate, climate change, how businesses are managing climate change, environmental footprints, carbon footprints. We'll try and keep the discussion quite flexible and not get bogged down, because we want to have, a thorough understanding, at least at a very high level, of why is environmental responsibility or climate management responsibility so important for companies in Pakistan? Why is it going up the agenda? So perhaps let me start by getting a very brief opening statement from both our guests at the moment, from Iqbal and then from Imran. Iqbal, welcome to the webinar. Why do you think environmental responsibility, climate change responsibility is so important now for Pakistani businesses, especially those with a global footprint?
Thank you very much, Arif. First of all, I really appreciate ACCA to arrange this webinar. This is a very important, keeping in view the challenges the existing human being is going to be faced. According to a study, I think there was a 51 billion tons green gas emissions are being emitting due to the industrialization in the globe. So it is the responsibility of the existing human to take initiatives to reduce the carbon emission before the 2050. Otherwise, there would be a disaster for this earth. So every business venture, business entity is using indigenous resources, and indigenous resources are limited. And we are not only going to use these indigenous resources for the current generation. These are the assets and the property of the future generation, and future generation is also not only the is my personal issue. Future generation means my future client, my future customers. If I use indigenous resources only for my current customers, it means I am passing through the cost of existing customer to the future customer. So it is the responsibility of all the enterprise, all the business community to come forward for the uh, to take the initiative for this climate change. Otherwise, the cost of doing business will be much higher than which we are experiencing right now. So our organization Sadaka Limited started this initiative a decade ago. It was not our requirement to publish sustainability report, but we started to publish sustainability report in 2015. It was a board decision to take everybody on board to engage the stakeholders. When you publish, you present your data for public, it shows your commitment. And it also uh, is a binding force upon us. Then you can't stop your initiative, can't stop your programs. So we started in 2015. Alhamdulillah, we are working in different areas. We are working in environments, in social, and also governance front. Presently, our organizations also reduce the carbon emission in different process. We are also working on waterfront for zero discharge. We are working on the quality of air. We are also working on social front. We are engaged with the regulators. In fact, this engagement is not only with the customers. This engagement is also with the society. So society represent not only the regulators, society represent your debtor, your creditors, all of your strategic business partners.
तो लेट मी एक सेकंड के लिए पॉज करते हैं यहाँ पे। इकबाल, आपने बहुत सारी चीजें अभी मेंशन की हैं जो जो क्लाइमेट का जो इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी के ऊपर, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल, हमारे में यहाँ पे हर साल गर्मियां जो हैं वो ज्यादा टेम्परेचर्स हो रहे हैं, बारिशें ज्यादा हो रही हैं, राइट? सर्दियों में स्मॉग ज्यादा हो रही है। तो ये इवेंट्स जो हैं आपके कमर्शियल एक्टिविटीज को कैसे इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, इनफैक्ट वेन एवर यू जैसे ये अभी आपकी ये जो चैलेंज एनवायरमेंटल चैलेंजेस आते हैं, तो इसमें कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी तो नो डाउट आपकी डैमेज होती है, आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी भी कम होती है। जब आपके इन्वायरमेंट की वजह से आपका मटेरियल, आपकी सप्लाई चेन डिस्टर्ब होगी, आपकी ना सिर्फ सप्लाई चेन डिस्टर्ब होगी, आपका लेबर का पहुंचना ना पहुंचना वो भी डिस्टर्ब होगा। और इस सारे से क्या होगा कि अल्टीमेटली जो एंड कंज्यूमर की जो कॉस्ट है, जो प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट है, वो बढ़ेगी। और जब जैसे ही प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट बढ़ेगी तो कस्टमर की जो बाइंग कैपेसिटी है वो कम होगी। जैसे ही बाइंग कैपेसिटी कम होगी तो आपका जो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन का जो प्रोडक्शन का प्रोसेस है उसी तरीके से वो गो स्लो होगा। तो इसलिए दिस इज अच्छा, एक तो ये बात थी। दूसरी, मैं जस्ट वांट टू मेंशन ओवर हियर, इट इज नॉट ओनली कंसर्न विद द करंट कस्टमर्स, करंट कंज्यूमर। मैं अक्सर बात करता हूं, जब सस्टेनेबिलिटी या क्लाइमेट सब्जेक्ट की बात करता हूं, हम करते हैं कि अगर आज हम इसके ऊपर मिशन के ऊपर काम नहीं करेंगे, इट मींस वी आर जस्ट डेफरिंग ओवर कॉस्ट। हम ये कॉस्ट फ्यूचर कस्टमर्स के ऊपर पास थ्रू कर रहे हैं। अगर फ्यूचर कस्टमर जो है, फ्यूचर जनरेशन, अगर हम उसके ऊपर पास थ्रू कर रहे हैं तो उसका मतलब है उस वक्त उस टाइम की कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस हम बढ़ा रहे हैं। तो दूसरे लफ्जों में कि जो मेरा फ्यूचर प्लान्स हैं वो उनको मैं कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर रहा हूँ। अगर मैं अपने फ्यूचर जो प्लान्स हैं उसके अंदर मैं इन सारी चीज़ों को मद्देनजर नहीं रखूंगा, तो ये जितने सारे फैक्टर्स हैं, जितने सारे क्लाइमेट रिस्क हैं, अभी आप देखें कि अभी जब पेंडेमिक आया तो इस वक्त इमरान भाई इज आल्सो अभी आपको बताएंगे कि इस वक्त सप्लाई चेन का इंपोर्ट के जितने कंटेनर्स दुनिया में आ रहे हैं वो भी चैलेंज है, जो एक्सपोर्ट हो रहे हैं वो भी चैलेंज है। कल yesterday my supply chain manager was telling me सितंबर के अंदर सारी बुकिंग हो चुकी है, कंटेनर्स की अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है, और चाइना से जो फ्रेट चार्जेस हैं वो डबल होने जा रहे हैं। अच्छा,
Right.
यहाँ पे कार्टेलाइजेशन भी है, यहाँ पे एक्सप्लॉयटेशन भी है, लेकिन इसके बावजूद ये जो क्लाइमेट का जो चेंज आएगा, अगर ये 51 बिल ट्रिलियन जो गैसेज हैं, जो हम टन ट्रिलियन गैसेज है जो हम इस वक्त सिस्टम में बढ़ा रहे हैं, तो इससे क्या होगा कि अल्टीमेटली गवर्नमेंट को कार्बन टैक्सेस की तरफ जाना पड़ेगा, और कार्बन
Right.
टैक्स इज रियलिटी। जब हम कार्बन टैक्स की तरफ जाएंगे, तो जब अब उस कार्बन टैक्स की तरफ जाने का मकसद अल्टीमेटली कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बढ़ाना है, और जहां कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बढ़ेगी, कंज्यूमर की जो स्पेंडिंग है वो कॉम्प्रोमाइज होगी, और कंज्यूमर की स्पेंडिंग कॉम्प्रोमाइज होगी तो आपका बिजनेस की ग्रोथ कॉम्प्रोमाइज होगी।
चले, बहुत अच्छा, आपने बहुत अच्छे मैसेजेस दिए हैं इकबाल। यू मेंशन्ड सस्टेनेबिलिटी। हमने अपने बिजनेसेस ऐसे उनको कमर्शियली रन करना है ताकि फ्यूचर जनरेशंस को हम हैंड ओवर कर सकें,
एग्जैक्ट।
फ्यूचर एम्प्लॉयमेंट, फ्यूचर एक्टिविटी। और आपने मेंशन किए कार्बन टैक्सेस, उसके ऊपर भी आते हैं। और आपने मेंशन किया कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस। इमरान, लेट मी कम टू यू इन द सेंस, जब हम देख रहे हैं ग्लोबली सप्लाई चेन बार बार मेंशन हो रही है फ्रॉम इकबाल, एंड ग्लोबली वी सीन पूरी दुनिया में आग लगी हुई है, यूरोप में आग लगी हुई है, ग्रीस में आग लगी हुई है, यूएसए में आग लगी हुई है। फिर हम देखते हैं फ्लड्स, पूरे दुनिया में फ्लड्स आए हुए हैं। अभी हरिकेन आइडा जो है उसने न्यू ऑर्लियंस और न्यूयॉर्क को भी हिट किया है। पाकिस्तान के अंदर we've had floods, we've had flash floods, we've had forest fires, we've had smog. कितने हमारी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी स्मोक के, एंड ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट पैंडेमिक भी आई है। कोई 1.5-2 साल से पैंडेमिक चल रही है, डिसरप्टिंग ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन्स। ऊपर से सुएज कनाल में इतनी बड़ी शिप सुएज कनाल में फंस गई थी, उसने बहुत सारा सप्लाई चेन्स को हैंडीकैप कर दिया था। So when as a CFO, managing the finances, managing the budget of your organization, how are you factoring in these interconnected forces, of climate and social forces, environmental forces? How are you managing this as a CFO?
Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me in such a important discussion. Very rightly said by Iqbal Saab, the supply chain is globally affected now, and it's the cost of continuing with this supply chain is nearly impossible. This is the COVID has given us so much to learn from that how the future would become if we don't start taking corrective actions now. I must appreciate the initiative taken by the Prime Minister, especially by planting the tree, 1 billion trees. Actually, it will surely give benefit to our future generation as well as to the economy of Pakistan. The floods will be reduced, the environment, the weather will be comparatively neutralized. Second thing is, we have never heard about recycled products. We were using these plastic bags in the past. Now the customer is demanding the recycled products. We are doing the paper, using the paper bags for our, you can say, shoppings and all stuff. So actually, the environment is totally changed now. As Iqbal already said, that it's not about only about how we are dealing with it today, and the other impact that may bring, as we Gadoon Textile is a listed company, we also believe that it's not about how we are becoming commercial viable, but our investors should also be given a due disclosure that how we are responsible towards our environment. In Gadoon, we have made significant investment towards renewable energy. We have wind power projects. As a group, we have larger investment, but for Gadoon, we have wind power projects in our projects. We have solar in our projects. We have hydel in our projects. Also, the recent you just mentioned about the hurricane. It is actually affecting the complete supply chain. And as an accountant, what we see is that if it's being done today, it will have an impact on tomorrow as well. So, what actions we are now required to take, which we were not previously considering? COVID is an example, very, very recent past. We in Pakistan, we were not very used to with these technological things, the video conferencing and the work from home thing. Globally, it was very common in the past as well, but we were not very used to it. We were doing all the things on paper basis. We were like wasting tons and tons of papers. So when the scenarios come, it changed the behavior of how an organization behave or how an accountant especially, because they have to foresee the future for their company, for their strategic vision of the company. So I think that we have faced significant challenges similar to that what Iqbal has just said. Also that the supply chain in the past, let's say, in the past, we were very much dependent on fossil fuels. Nowadays, like let's say if, for example, the containers, the ships, the sea impact, the hurricane, the floods affecting the global supply chain. But in Pakistan today, we have now wind power projects in place. We have now solar-based production, energy generation. So our dependency on these climate or weather constraints are changing now. So it's actually it's good for Pakistan as well as for individual companies. Again,
Right.
if we are not investing it today, our shareholders would be concerned because everybody knows now that we are facing challenges from our customers, that customers need renewables, customer needs green energy, customer needs sustainable products. So if we are not coping with the requirements of customers, we are actually going down. So it's very important that you should now start considering that these sustainable costs are not just cost. It's like an investment for the future of the company, for the future of the country.
So, if somebody was listening to our conversation right now from outside, they'd be wondering why, an accountancy webinar is talking about, these issues. Why are we talking about environmental, social, and governance challenges to accountants? हम तो train हुए हैं financial management में. हमने तो फाइनेंशियल परफॉर्मेंस ट्रेडिशनली हम रिपोर्ट करते हैं. हमारा तो काम है क्वार्टरली स्टेटमेंट्स बनाना, MIS क्वार्टरली मैनेजमेंट रिपोर्ट्स बनाना, हाफ मंथली बैलेंस शीट प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस बनाना. हमारा काम है एनुअली फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बनाना. इकबाल, आप बताएं, ये जो एकदम से अकाउंटेंट्स के ऊपर ये 3 डायमेंशंस और आ गई हैं: environmental reporting, social reporting and governance reporting. Right? ये 3 dimensions जो हैं, ये हमारे capabilities में कैसे आ रही हैं, हम कैसे अपनी capacity build कर रहे हैं ताकि हम ये तीनों dimensions को भी manage करें, measure करें और report करें.
Thank you very much, Arif. In fact, this is a great question. In fact, we are a record keeper. And then we are a compiler. Then we are presenter. We are involved in decision making. We are also advisor to the board. I'm talking about the role of different accountants. Or मेरा ख्याल the all audience present over there are our accountants. They very much know about the role of accountants in business. When we talk about the sustainability reporting, the first challenge is the uniform sustainability.
Sorry, Imran, आपकी आवाज कट गई है.
Can you hear me now?
GD, I can hear you now.
Okay. So presently, the challenge with the
Nay, we've lost Imran's voice. Perhaps, perhaps Imran, you can take over, and then we'll go back to Iqbal.
Okay. So again, this is the same thing that in the past, accountants were only restrained to bookkeeping, compliance things, taxations, corporate affairs, and other stuff, and again the reporting thing. Even in the past, the reporting standards were very few, and now you have so many ISs and then IFRSs, and then it's compliance, and again this climate change environment. So when we accountants are presenting something in our financial statements, this means we are presenting it at a very transparent and fair way. All the companies, even the sustainable reports or the reports we are presenting towards our environment friendly initiatives that have been taken should be very, very transparent and fair. And we accountants are the champions for the measurement and nowadays the disclosures thing. So I think it's becoming very important for accountants to calculate, to measure, to foresee again that where the business is going. So it's you can say it's the visibility of an accountant that he can see that where things are moving. For example, if there is a climate change, the weather change in a particular region, so the seasonal trends would be moving. So in order to be more effective, to save financially, you have to guide to the management team that you have to maintain certain level of inventories. Maybe the supply chain would be effective. Like just we discussed initially, the containers are not available now. So what other sources we have? And are we pursuing it? Or did we see that this thing is going to be happen? When COVID impacted the globe in Pakistan, it started in March 2020. So there are so many things that we in a company planned at different levels. Like our raw materials coming, our machineries was coming, our customers were in the retail side of the business globally. So if they will get affected with the cash flow crunch or you can say the defaulting, it will ultimately affect us. So again, if some region or some country is continuously affected by this weather change, the natural disasters thing, so we have to be very particular that how to contain our costs, how to measure the impact of that particular climate change.
Yep. So measuring impact, having the capabilities to measure impact and interpret. Iqbal, are you back online? And Iqbal, are you able to? I think Iqbal's connectivity is again having issues. Iqbal, perhaps you can connect again. Acha, whilst we're waiting for Iqbal to rejoin us, Imran, Iqbal, can you hear me? Hello, Iqbal. Hello, Iqbal. I think Iqbal's going to change his Wi-Fi. Acha, Imran, whilst we're waiting for Iqbal, I mean, what are the ways do you think, I mean, how have you been able to sort of invest in your skills and knowledge around these three dimensions or one dimension, especially environmental and social dimensions, and and understanding the connectivity of those, like you mentioned, on financial planning, on financial performance? What do you recommend to the audience in terms of building their capabilities in understanding these trends?
I think ACCA itself is providing a very good platform by way of the magazine. The global news is the main source, and again, the thanks to this internet thing that you have now access to the global weather as well. You can see how weather is changing. So it's becoming very simple these days. In the past, it was difficult. You cannot see the weather, and only if you are viewing the news is you have so many gadgets on your mobile phone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are not very used to that informative things. But if you're using it, I think it's a very good platform.
Yeah.
And again,
And-
if you have the interest, if you want to learn, like you can read the report of Sadakat, you can read the report of Gadoon Textile, you can read the report of ICA
Exactly.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
So these are the things that accountants should go through. They will start to learn that how the weather is changing, how the change of weather impacting the finance of any particular company, how cements would be affected, how let's take an example of automobile industry. Let's say for a very good brand, Indus Motor in Pakistan. It if they and so many other companies, if they are not changing the conventional fossil fuel vehicles, they will be out of the market. So it's because of the global customers' requirement as well as the global implication for the carbon generation. You have to be very particular that in the 5 or 10 years, where you will be going. So
Yes,
these,
and I think these points that you mentioned, there are a couple of risks that I think accountants and finance people need to be aware of. One is the mitigating risks. Yeah. So how are
yeah,
you going to mitigate the risks of climate change, and how are you going to mitigate other environmental risks as well? That means, okay, being prepared, like you said, we have to prepare. The best way we can prepare is by increasing our knowledge and our understanding of what these risks are. But then also, it's also adapting as well. If we know the world is going to be a hotter place, and if we know the quality of our air index is going to get worse and worse, and there's nothing we can do about it, we have to adapt.
yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about that adapting piece for a bit. How are we adapting? Part of it is knowledge and skills, but we have to adapt our infrastructure as well, don't we?
Yes, and we have adopted it.
Yeah.
If we see it in Pakistan, just I said earlier, that we were not used to this video link things. We were
Yeah.
very particular. We should meet. We have to have a meeting with a particular person sitting in front of us and have a large room with so many people around us. But now, when we are started to use this technology thing, we have saved millions of rupees and millions of environment carbon free because of the traveling thing. If someone has to
Yes.
go to a particular place, he must be consuming the fuel and polluting the environment. If we have to travel by aeroplane, the conversion is like the complete scenarios has been changed now. Actually, the e-commerce thing, we have never thought of buying online things, but now in Pakistan only. Globally, it was in the past it was very common, but in Pakistan we are now witnessing that people are not that much interested in going to a shopping mall or retail outlet, and instead they are doing this buying thing on their mobile phone only. So it's changing, and we are doing it. We are actually doing it. The only problem is that either we are reactive or we are doing it proactively. If something imposed on us and then we react, so as an accountant, as a strategic accountant, I could say that we should be proactive in directing our companies, our country, our economy towards the things that would impact us financially as well as socially.
अच्छा, ये आपने बड़ी अच्छी टर्म यूज की है, स्ट्रेटेजिक accountants or strategic finance professionals. अच्छा, Iqbal, can you hear us? I think Iqbal is still having some challenges. Hello,
No,
Iqbal.
I have watched all of your program. I don't know. It was a climate disturbance.
ये कोई हरिकेन आइडा का कोई इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है हमारे ऊपर. अच्छा, ये बताएं इकबाल, एक तो इमरान ने मेंशन किया
Imran bhai, can you
strategic
hear me?
thinking.
Yes,
Didi, I
yes,
can hear
yes,
you.
yes,
Acha,
yes,
I
yes.
can't hear Arif, but I can hear you. I can even your video is very clear.
Okay.
अच्छा, you can't hear me. Okay.
So I think Omar Nadeem Khan, how business trying to mitigate this.
So Imran, if you could ask Iqbal to expand
So
on
I was talking
the
about the
strategic
challenges
thinking
of accountant with reference to the
Gigi.
sustainability reporting. Uh, uh, I was, in fact, hearing your arguments and very valid arguments. The accountants are champions of measurement and the reporting. But the major challenge with the sustainability reporting is the greenwashing. Greenwashing is also a scam. In fact, the industry and the big uh, OMC are using sustainability reporting as a greenwashing tool. And this is a concern of all the stakeholders of society, especially the consumer, regulators, and the investor. So when these terms come up, I don't want to mention the name of an American company who started greenwashing from 1977 and it was exposed in 1991. Then the need of the transparent and the assured reporting was emerged. So the role of the accountant is very important over here because इसमें accountants की को पहले भी रिपोर्टिंग का बहुत सारा एक्सपीरियंस था, ऑडिटिंग का भी एक्सपीरियंस है, इंश्योरेंस का भी एक्सपीरियंस था. तो फिर इसके ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आई क्योंकि दे आर एथिकली चैंपियंस. अकाउंटेंट्स जो है इनकी एक एथिकल जो ट्रेनिंग है वो बड़ी स्ट्रॉन्ग है, फिर एक प्रोफेशनल नेटवर्क है, फिर कॉन्टिन्यूस इनका डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम चलता है, सारी जितनी भी प्रोफेशनल अकाउंटिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है दुनिया के अंदर. और फिर इनका एक जो इनके स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन है उसके ऊपर बहुत दो इस वक्त जो सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्टिंग के ये कि दुनिया में इस वक्त 5-6 स्टैंडर्ड्स जो हैं जो हम इस वक्त यूज कर रहे हैं. इस वक्त आईफैक ने जो आईएएसबी उसने एक सस्टेनेबिलिटी स्टैंडर्ड कमेटी बना दी है जो उनका मैंडेट है कि वो सस्टेनेबिलिटी जो स्टैंडर्ड्स है वो डेवलप करें. इस वक्त हम यूरोपीय यूनियन को भी फॉलो कर रहे हैं, यूनाइटेड नेशन को भी फॉलो कर रहे हैं, जीआई को भी हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं और सस्टेनेबिलिटी स्टैंडर्ड बोर्ड कुछ उसको भी फॉलो कर रहे हैं, दैट इज एन एनजीओ. तो जब यहाँ पे जब एक स्टैंडर्ड नहीं था तो पीपल अब मैं अपनी सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट बना रहा हूँ, इमरान भाई अपनी बना रहे हैं, उन दोनों के अंदर हो सकता है वो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन ना. दो के आईसीएमएपी और आईकैप ने एक बीसीएसआर की गाइडलाइंस दी हैं लेकिन काफी सारी जेनेरिक है, उसके अंदर भी आप काफी सारा अगर प्ले करना चाहें तो आप प्ले कर सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे जरूरत थी जब रिपोर्टिंग आई, ठीक है, इसमें हमने सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स को एंगेज किया और हर बिजनेस ने बताया कि उसका इन्वायरमेंट के ऊपर क्या इम्पैक्ट है और उसका मिटिगेटिंग प्लान क्या है. लेकिन इसके अंदर भी लोगों ने जब नंबर्स के साथ खेलना शुरू किया तो फिर इंश्योरेंस की जरूरत आई. तो इस वक्त जो है इंश्योरेंस या कंफर्मेशन है, कुछ लोग तो इसको वॉलंटरीली कर रहे हैं लेकिन अभी ये मैंडेटरी नहीं है. तो इसलिए अकाउंटेंट्स की जरूरत आई, इसलिए आईफैक इसमें इन्वॉल्व हुआ. जब आईफैक इन्वॉल्व हुआ उसने अब इसमें मेरा ख्याल नॉमिनेशंस मांगी थी और 3 अगस्त तक उसकी लास्ट डेट थी नॉमिनेशन कमेटीज की. मेरा अब उसका एक बोर्ड बनेगा और इंशाल्लाह ताला इसके ऊपर जब यूनिफॉर्म स्टैंडर्ड्स आएंगे तो अकाउंटेंट्स का रोल बहुत एक इम्पॉर्टेंट सामने आएगा कि इसमें अकाउंटेंट्स क्योंकि एक्सपर्ट्स हैं सारी की सारे मामलात के अंदर और उन्होंने सोसाइटी का, और जब मैं सोसाइटी का नाम लेता हूँ इसका मतलब है कि सारी बिजनेस सोसाइटी जो सारे स्टेक होल्डर है उस पर कॉन्फिडेंस, पूरी सोसाइटी का कॉन्फिडेंस है अकाउंटेंट्स के ऊपर, एज एन अकाउंटेंट भी है और एज एन ऑडिटर भी है. तो ये जरूरत जब लोगों ने ग्रीन वॉशिंग की तो इसके ऊपर फिर अकाउंटेंट्स को ही सामने आना पड़ा. और इस वक्त मैं ये समझता हूँ कि अकाउंटेंट्स के लिए बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि वो अपने फाइनेंशियल नंबर से बाहर सोसाइटी के जो मुख्तलिफ लोग हैं, जो मुख्तलिफ स्टेक होल्डर हैं, उनके साथ वो डायलॉग्स करेंगे, उनके साथ कम्युनिकेशन करेंगे और फिर उनके लिए प्रॉपर रिपोर्टिंग भी करेंगे. और जब आप ईएसजी की बात करते हैं इसमें आप सिर्फ आज की, मैं फिर कहूँगा आज के इंसान के साथ आप कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर रहे. आप जब आज बैठ के रिपोर्टिंग कर रहे हैं तो आप 50 साल बाद के जो इंसान है उसके साथ भी आप डायलॉग्स कर रहे हैं. जो 50 साल बाद उसकी जरूरतें हैं आप उसके साथ भी, उस वक्त जो बिजनेस की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी आप उसके साथ भी कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं, उसके साथ भी डायलॉग्स कर रहे हैं. तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द अकाउंटेंट्स कि वो एक ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी उनके सामने आई है. ठीक है वो परफॉर्मेंस मैनेजमेंट भी वो कर रहे हैं बिजनेस, लेकिन जितनी भी अब अगर आप बिजनेस मॉडलिंग की बात कर रहे हैं या आप कोई स्ट्रेटेजिक प्लान की बात कर रहे हैं, तो सस्टेनेबिलिटी उसमें बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है। इमरान भाई, मैं आपसे एक बात करूं, अभी तो हम सारे के सारे जितने एक्सपोर्टर्स हैं, आप भी इस बात को एक्नॉलेज करेंगे कि ये एक प्रेशर आया कि फॉरेन बायर था, हमने कहा जी सस्टेनेबिलिटी के ऊपर काम करना शुरू कर दे। लेकिन आप ये देखें कि ये फैक्टर अब पाकिस्तान में भी आ रहा है। मैं भी रिटेल चेन को हेड कर रहा था, हमारी रिटेल चेन है, आई एम चीफ ऑपरेटिंग ऑफिसर ऑफ खास स्टोर्स। तो अब वहां पे जब हमारे पास कंज्यूमर आता तो हम पहले उन्हें वी यूज टू यूज प्लास्टिक बैग्स। तो जब अब लोग आते हैं, स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, बच्चियां खास तौर पर जो आती हैं, दे आर डिमांडिंग फॉर रिसाइकल्ड बैग्स। वो कहते हैं जी आप व्हाई आर यू यूजिंग दीज प्लास्टिक बैग्स, एंड दे आर पुटिंग पोस्ट ऑन आवर डिजिटल मीडिया platform that this organization is not sustainable and this organization is sustainable, and they are asking for sustainable packing. So no, this issue is not limited to the for the overseas consumer. अब ये जो बात है, ये हमारा जो पढ़ा लिखा नौजवान है, पढ़ा लिख और जो भी हमारी जो करंट जनरेशन है, दे आर आल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट द सस्टेनेबल प्रोडक्ट। अच्छा, अब हम ये कहते हैं कि जी दिस प्रोडक्ट इज ओनली फॉर द बर्गर फैमिलीज, कि ये जो बर्गर फैमिलीज हैं, दे आर टॉकिंग दिस इज देयर सब्जेक्ट। आई डिसएग्री, टोटली डिसएग्री। आई थिंक ये तो मेरे जो दादा या दादा के भाई या ताया वो बात करते थे ऑर्गेनिक प्रोडक्ट की, एंड वी वर यूज्ड टू, हमारी जो जनरेशन थी, वी वर यूज्ड टू डिस्करेज देम। बट नाउ द पीपल आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द सेम डिस्कशंस जो वो हो रही है, बट विद द very good vocabulary, with very good terms. So the sustainability जो है is not only the issue of the business community, this is the issue of the whole society. लेकिन बिजनेस को और अकाउंटेंट्स को इसके ऊपर इसलिए ज्यादा काम करना है कि we are responsible to provide an efficient product at an efficient price. और ये तभी पॉसिबल हो सकता है कि while using indigenous resources, we will have to be very much smart. I also worked in power sector. I have also launched the first energy conservation campaign in Pakistan. I was the ambassador. I still remember I have arranged a walk, energy conservation walk in Islamabad and Main Boulevard. And there was a different sort of slogans. I still remember one slogan that is very important. The slogan was, one unit, the saving of 1 unit is 100 times better than generating of 1 unit. तो जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का अगर हम यूनिट जनरेशन करने की बजाय अगर हम उसकी सेविंग के ऊपर चले जाएं तो ये उससे ज्यादा बेहतर है। ये अगर हम जनरेशन जब
अच्छा, ये इकबाल भाई, ये आपने बड़ा अच्छा सवाल किया, और ये हमारे ऑडियंस ने भी ये पूछा है दैट ये मिटिगेशन और एडेप्टेशन के क्या फर्क है? What is mitigating against climate change and what is adapting for climate change, right?
मिटिगेशन आप देखें प्रिंसिपली, जैसे इकबाल साहब ने भी बताया, एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन एक बहुत मेजर और सिग्निफिकेंट पार्ट है। आज तक की डेट में हम जितनी भी चीज़ों की बात करते हैं वो एफिशिएंट यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ नेचुरल रिसोर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। इसको अगर मैं यूँ समझाऊं कि नेचुरल रिसोर्स की यूटिलाइजेशन को एफिशिएंट करना और एनर्जी सेविंग लाइट्स को यूना या डे लाइट सेविंग्स को यूज करना, तो ये दो पार्ट्स हैं, डिफरेंट पार्ट्स हैं। हमने नेचुरल रिसोर्स कंज्यूम कर लिया, जो भी नेचुरल रिसोर्स अवेलेबल था, और उसके अगेंस्ट में हमने एक सर्टेन लेवल ऑफ एनर्जी जनरेट करके अपनी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज रन कर ली। और दूसरी चीज है कि हमने अपनी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज इस तरह से डिजाइन की, उसको इस तरह से अडॉप्ट किया कि हमारी जो नेचुरल रिसोर्स की कंजम्पशन है वही हमने सेव कर ली। लेट्स से डे लाइट सेविंग्स की हमने बात की, लेट्स से हमने एक बात की, जैसे इन्होंने अभी इकबाल साहब ने रिटेल की बड़ी बहुत पर्टिकुलर एग्जांपल जैसे दी रिगार्डिंग प्लास्टिक बैग्स एंड दिस कॉटन बैग्स। अगर हम प्लास्टिक बैग यूज करें तो नंबर वन वो डिजॉल्व नहीं होता, एनवायरनमेंट को पोल्यूट करता चला जाता है, वाटर, हमारी जितनी सी लाइफ है वो बैडली इफेक्ट हो रही है मेनली इससे, और उसको खत्म करने की इटसेल्फ एक बहुत बड़ी कॉस्ट है। अगर हम उसको कन्वर्ट करते हैं टूवर्ड्स क्लोथ बैग्स या लेट्स से पेपर बैग्स, तो उसकी जो इम्पैक्ट है, फाइनेंशियल इम्पैक्ट भी है, वो भी बहुत ही कंपैरेटिवली लॉन्गर रन में बहुत कम है। आज तो मे बी यू विल बी लाइक incurring an additional cost for building this cloth bag, बट वो आपकी इकोनॉमी की साइकिल में घूम रहा है। वो आज आपके पास से कंज्यूम होके कल कहीं और यूज हो रहा है, परसों कहीं और यूज हो रहा है, तरसों कहीं और हो रहा है, और वो उतना इम्पैक्ट भी नहीं करेगा इंडस्ट्री को। तो आई थिंक ये दो बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स हैं कि आप एनर्जी को यूज कैसे कर रहे हैं और एनर्जी की रिक्वायरमेंट को आप कैसे रैशनलाइज कर रहे हैं ताकि आपकी जो रिसोर्स है वो मिनिमाइज लेवल पे यूज हो। वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स, जैसे हम थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल साइड पे हैं, जैसे वेस्ट हीट रिकवरी प्लांट्स हैं, ठीक है, हम अपने पावर प्लांट्स के ऊपर वेस्ट हीट रिकवरी प्लांट्स या कंबाइंड साइकिल यूज करते हैं। वो ना सिर्फ हमारे एनवायरनमेंट को पोल्यूट होने से बचा रहा है और हम एक सोशली कंप्लाइंट, एक रिस्पॉन्सिबल एज सिटीजन के तौर पे बात करें, बट ऑन द अदर एंड इट इज ऑल्सो सेविंग अस द सिग्निफिकेंट कॉस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द एनर्जी generation we are not doing it. We have in our plant we have so many you can say rooftops available, and we are planning to install solar panel on that. So once we use this idle resource without incurring any additional cost, we are actually generating with energy without using this indigenous thing. So these are the things that we have to see, and in Pakistan actually we are very late, but we are now started, and it's not only because the हमारे कोई global customers की requirement है, it's actually making commercial sense now.
Right. अच्छा, इकबाल भाई, एक क्वेश्चन है आपके लिए। एक हमारे ऑडियंस मेंबर ने पूछा है, what will be the strategic impact on the business, and will it not impact adversely since there's a deep economic recession around the globe?
Abhi, I think I have responded this question in the beginning.
ठीक है।
उसी को I just want to repeat कि when you reduce the consumer capacity of consumer spending, तो अल्टीमेटली जो इसका है वो एक इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन की तरफ जाएगा। और कंज्यूमर स्पेंडिंग को मैं पहले बता चुका था कि जैसे जैसे क्लाइमेट की चेंज आएगा या क्लाइमेट डिस्टर्बेंस आएगी, तो आपकी कंज्यूमर की जो कैपेसिटी ऑफ स्पेंडिंग है वो कम होती जाएगी, उसकी अर्निंग कैपेसिटी भी कम होगी, उसका जो इवन शॉपिंग प्लेसेस पे पहुंचना, इवन उसके पास उसकी पॉकेट उसका साथ नहीं देगी, तो इससे अल्टीमेटली जो है वो इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन आएगा। अच्छा, मैं इमरान भाई की एक बात को थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ाना चाह रहा था, बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात है। आई जस्ट वांट टू एंगेज ऑल दी कंटेंट कम्युनिटी ओवर हियर। वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द सस्टेनेबिलिटी, लेकिन हम सब की जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट्स है ना वो पेपर पे प्रिंट होती हैं। तो आई जस्ट वांट टू गिव अ मैसेज।
अब तो एनुअल रिपोर्ट्स पे तो खैर अच्छा इनिशिएटिव ले लिया है, आई थिंक ये सस्टेनेबिलिटी पे भी करना चाहिए। ट्रू, वेरी ट्रू।
आई जस्ट वांट टू गिव convey a message for the content community for the digitalization of annual and sustainability report. We should discourage the use of papers, and when we publish sustainability report, we publish for our bankers, for our stakeholders, for our buyers in hundreds and thousands. It means we are using natural resources just for the engagement, and the digital report is more proactive, where is a user friendly, where user can use data very in a very comfortable way. And the second thing, he can store it, he can use it again and again. But the printable edition, I think we should.
I think yes, we lost you a little bit there, but I think
the printable edition.
Yeah. So let me welcome Hassan Dawood as well into the final sessions of the engagement. Hassan, welcome on board. I think your timing joining at this point, I just want to ask you a few questions, Hassan, because we've heard about these sort of the mega forces of climate change and environmental factors which are affecting businesses. I've made your introduction. I think you're responsible basically for providing an enabling environment to new businesses to set up in KP. A lot of those businesses, Hassan, will depend upon energy. They'll be located in a certain area. They will depend upon energy. and the future energy must be low cost and clean and carbon free if possible. Yep. फिर ही हमारे पास एक competitive advantage हो सकता है global value chain में, ताकि हमारे products जो हैं वो not only अच्छे हो but they clean हो, environmentally friendly ho, or safe ho. Hassan, how are you going to enable such an environment in your jurisdiction?
Okay, wonderful. You see, as somebody working on attracting investment and talking to the world, and I was privileged to visit two of the very important event that in the pre-COVID era. In the BOW forum, there was discussion around avatars, there was discussion around paperless economy, and also even just now I'm stepping out of a discussion for Expo 2022, 21-22, where the entire program is around paperless, marketing and paperless tourism and agriculture. And why is it so important for a province like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? And when I joined Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, one of my initial discussion with the leadership, both political and administrative, was that we should work and foster, you know, partnerships where the new technologies and eco-friendly, even in case of tourism, eco-friendly tourism should be promoted. You see why? Because rural communities that depend on natural resources for their livelihoods face the brunt of climate change. The rising temperatures, droughts, pests, that brings poverty. And one of the agenda of the government is poverty alleviation. And likewise, there are issues regarding drinking water. We sometimes talk of the energy only. So as a policy, what the government has decided initially, that and that also ensures our energy security, is that we will not have new projects where energy is imported, like these sources of energies are imported, and we will promote indigenous resources. And when you talk of indigenous sources for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the main pillar indigenous sources is around the hydel energy, and therefore we are promoting both mini, micro hydel projects, and we are working with even with some of our academic institutions, higher academic institutions, to work on possibilities where they could be source of providing turbines for these mini micro hydel projects, and that could generate but overall, if you look at Pakistan and then you look at provinces like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we still are amongst those areas in the region where there is still dearth of energy, where there's scarcity of energy, there's scarcity of infrastructure that supports green and eco-friendly tourism. So therefore, the government is now working on promoting such ideas. A. B is that when you go abroad and when you discuss and sell your projects and sell your province in terms of marketing it for a suitable destination for investment, the first thing that is the first question that is asked, the first query that probably is raised is about what are the sources of energy and how eco-friendly is your marketing, the overall scheme of things are. Similarly, lastly, what I just want to highlight is, this requires, we talk of eco-friendly energy sources and other sustainable projects, green sustainable projects, but this entire action or the climate action or addressing climate change requires significant financial investment, like a new energy system, infrastructure that can actually withstand climate change. And if you were listening to President Biden's speech yesterday, he was speaking about these, the forest fires and flash floods that are coming and in actually impacting big size economy globally. So for us, this is the right time, and I think the government, the 10 billion tree tsunami is one of the great initiatives of the government.
So let me just pause you there for a second, Hassan, because you raise a very interesting point. Long-term financial resources will be needed if we are to go from a high carbon energy resource to a low carbon. We need to invest in hydro, We need to invest in solar, in wind. Now, that brings me on to green finance. Yeah. We keep hearing about green finance. We keep hearing about green bonds. Yep. What does that mean, for us? Is green finance cheap or is it expensive? And what are the returns expected from green finance? So very quickly, we've only got 5 minutes left. 1 minute, 1 minute for you, Hassan, then Imran, and then Iqbal. 1 minute. Sir, आप म्यूट पे हैं हसन, आप म्यूट पे हैं.
Sorry. Yeah, before I make my statement on your question, my last point that I would like to highlight is that the difficulty with developing country and less developed countries is that there is a thin line for moving from a low income country to a high income industrialist country. And for having industrial development, you need cheaper sources of energy to remain competitive. And there, the discussion around coal emerges because we have a lot of indigenous sources in Thar, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which can be consumed. So while we work on this climate change and the financing aspect that I would just answer, we should also remain cognizant of the fact that we also need industrialization. So this process has to be well articulated and well thought, how to transition from where we are, become a developed country, create employment opportunities, and then probably transition into a more green country. Now, as far as the financing part is concerned, yes, it is. Novelty sometimes creates in itself difficulties in doing business. So this is something which is new, and especially for the developing countries. But what we are doing is that since the countries under the Paris Accord have agreed to a sustainable model, reducing energy emission. So overall, the donor agencies, including some of the popular ones, are actually supporting countries like Pakistan in undertaking this exercise. So the capacity has to be built of our financial institutions, which is, as we speak, is being built. But I think we will cross this river by touching each pebble. It will be an incremental process, but we are moving in the right direction. This is all I can say at this point.
Thanks, Hassan. Imran, over to you. Any final word on green financing and the availability of long-term financial resource, and then we'll come to Iqbal as well.
The financial institution has already been given targets to go for the green financing projects. They are providing the subsidized rate for the renewable projects. They are focusing that towards their borrowers, that are they following the environmental guidelines or not. So I think that even in Pakistan, the scale is just started, but it started, and the businesses are now moving towards this. So financing green projects at a subsidized rate, I think, is a very great initiative.
Great. Iqbal, green financing, subsidy given for green financing? आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, इकबाल.
Can I just say one thing, that when we talk of green financing, it does not only means that you support or sponsor projects which have have a green canvas, like alternate sources of energy. It's also about developing the capacity of the communities to combat climate change. So it has two aspects. One is the financing part into projects. The other is to develop communities and capacities to withstand climate change also.
Absolutely right, Hassan. I mean, we sort of use this overriding label for green financing, but it has many different dimensions. Iqbal bhai, can you hear us? नहीं, आपकी कनेक्टिविटी जो है वो स्लो है अभी. So let's there are a few questions left here. We got 1 or 2 minutes. Umar Nadeem Khan is asking, I think service industries will not have much impact on climate changes. What are your views? So by service industries, Imran, banking, financial services, insurance?
Everything. Iqbal sir,
Ji,
please.
Iqbal.
Ji. Okay. So first of all, we should appreciate the initiative taken by the Prime Minister of Pakistan to engage the whole nation for sustainability. But may
Sorry, Iqbal, आपके फिर वो connectivity के issues हो रहे हैं. आप शायद अपना वीडियो बंद कर लें, शायद आपकी आवाज आ जाएगी.
I think service industries will also be impacted because of this climate change. Insurance companies would be in a very deep waters if, like, weather such as hurricane just impacted the USA. The COVID thing impacted the whole world. So it's not only on the manufacturing or the producer side. It will also impact the service industry, the banking itself. Let's if your customer, let's say, if he is not complying with the sustainable products or going towards the sustainable customers, his business will be lost, and your assets will be in a very bad position.
Yeah.
So I think every industry is directly or indirectly impacted by this climate change.
Ji, Iqbal.
This is a climate disturbance. You can understand what will happen if we don't work on the sustainability. Even we will lose the connection. We will lose a lot of things. Is an eye opener for everyone. I think it's a good message from this webinar. So in fact, I think we have all the fundamentals set by the Prime Minister. We have green financing. We have engaged our society. We have initiated 1 billion tree program. But the lacking is
No.
We've Hurricane Ida
I think that
has reached Faisalabad.
always
आपको मैं वजह बताता हूँ आपका इंटरनेट क्यों नहीं काम कर रहा. आपने हमारे 10 बिलियन ट्री को 1 बिलियन ट्री कर दिया है, तो आपका इंटरनेट तो नहीं चलेगा ना सर.
मैं पहले कह रहा था कि someone trying to regulate me, because I always try to talk about the regulators. So we need to enhance the capacity of the regulators in Pakistan if we want to work on sustainability front.
True.
Right, so thank you very much. On that note, I would like to thank all the speakers for their contributions. I think there's lots more that can be said, and I will invite back Hassan and Imran and Iqbal on another session on this, because I think it's vitally important. I think the funding is available nationally and globally, and we got to really lift our appetite and our innovation to attract this investment. So thank you all very much. It's a very important subject, but thank you very much for sharing your time with us now. I hope the audience found it very useful. I think there's a lot to be gained by increasing your knowledge on this dimensions of ESG, and we'll be back soon with another webinar for you.
Thank you so much, sir. I just have one remark for youngsters, especially youngsters working on enterprises. It is a good market to make money. So think about it.
Great, good market to make money. It's a very important message. I think youngsters nowadays are equally concerned about environmental and social and governance as well as money. But money makes the world go round. Thank you very much, Hassan, for that message. Thank you, Imran. Thank you, Iqbal. Khudafis, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the discussion.